charged conversations and also allegedly planning to meet up with them. And it is my current belief, my opinion at this time, that Dr. Disrespect is taking advantage of people who aren't aware of these implications and trying to soften his wording to make himself seem as innocent as possible in this situation. And the reason why I believe that is because I believe if he were truly innocent and really didn't do the things he was accused of, he would outright say it instead of dancing around with these weird terminologies such as no wrongdoing was acknowledged. I understand there are legal boundaries he has to be careful of, but what could be so legally binding that he can't say, no, I did not do this? Instead, this is what Dr. Disrespect says, going back to that Twitter statement. Nothing illegal happened. No pictures were shared. No crimes were committed. I never even met the individual. I went through a lengthy arbitration regarding a civil dispute with Twitch, and that case was resolved by a settlement. Let me be clear, it was not a criminal case against me, and no criminal charges have ever been brought against me. Now, from a moral standpoint, I'll absolutely take responsibility. I should have never entertained these conversations to begin with. That's on me. That's on me as an adult, a husband, and a father. It should never have happened. I get it. I'm not perfect, and I'll effing own my shit. This was stupid. Now, with all that said, don't get it effing mistaken. I've seen all the remarks and labels being thrown around so loosely. Social media is a destruction zone. I am no effing or are you kidding me? Anyone that truly knows me knows where I stand on those things with those types of people. F that. That's a different level of disgust that I hate even hearing about. Don't be labeling me as the worst of the worst with your exaggerations. Get the F out of here with that. But I think I've said what I needed to say regarding the ban itself. That's it. That's why Twitch made the decision in 2020. To my team, community, industry friends that have supported me, I apologize. I wish I could have said this all sooner. You guys have always shown me and my family love and support throughout all these years. We love you guys like you can't imagine. I have the effing best community and circle. If any of this has made you uncomfortable, I get it. You don't have to support me anymore. Just know you have always been greatly appreciated. But trust me when I say this, to all of my haters that live and breathe social media with zero life experience, I don't give an F about you. Finally, if you're uncomfortable with this entire statement and think I'm a piece of that's fine, but I am not effing going anywhere. I'm not the same guy that made that mistake all of those years ago. I'm taking an extended vacation with my family as mentioned on stream, and I'm coming back with a heavy weight off my shoulders. They want me to disappear. Yeah, effing right. Alright, so here are my thoughts on just this statement. He's reaching out to an audience of people that may or may not understand that when people accuse someone of talking to a minor, it's usually much more malicious than what he's trying to imply. And this is just my opinion, but I don't think Twitch would permanently ban him the way that he was banned if something malicious hadn't taken place. And I really don't think that his own game studio would drop him if it weren't as serious as some were making it out to be. Again, just my opinion. On top of that, Robert Bowling, who I think is the studio head of the game studio that Dr. Disrespect was a co-founder of, he came out on Twitter and stated this. This is a statement from me personally. It does not reflect any of my companies and has not gone through any legal or PR approvals. If you inappropriately message a minor, I cannot work with you, period. I promise to only act on facts, and I did. But going back to Dr. Disrespect's Twitter statement, throughout this entire statement, he does not clarify what the messages entailed. He does not clarify if he knew the person's age. And while he denies any quote-unquote real intentions behind these messages, he doesn't clarify whether or not he was planning on meeting up with them directly. He instead worded this in such a vague manner that tries so hard to make him seem like he's innocent in this situation, while ultimately admitting that yes, what other people have been saying were true. And just so we're clear, does not have to be only sending pictures back and forth or meeting up with somebody. While he claims that no pictures were sent, he does not say that no explicit messages were sent. He also states no crimes were committed instead of saying something like, I did not do what is being accused of me. The thing is, if you want to play the I'm innocent because I didn't get in trouble legally card, there are plenty of people who have done really reprehensible things towards minors who didn't get in trouble for it. Look at people like EDP445, Mini Lad, James Charles, or some of the people that Chris Hansen even tried to bust. Yeah, that's right. Some of the people that Chris Hansen had on his To Catch a show didn't end up in prison. For somebody who claims they have no filter when talking about situations, this statement seems to be heavily filtered. This statement reads like it was reviewed by 20 PR team members and maybe a few lawyers too, just for good measure. Again, in my opinion. But wait, it gets worse as always. Before releasing this statement on Twitter, Dr. Disrespect had two big moments during his Elden Ring stream. The first being when he realized that something was going down.
You know how we run things here.
This is very reminiscent of the final moments of his stream leading up to his Twitch ban back in 2020.
I can't wait. It'll happen. It has to happen. We'll get through this Champions Club. I know it's a tough.
Because I don't know this one well.
Life's weird right now.
Oh my
We'll,
it did.
we'll get through this, okay? And
Hey, Christopher.
Dun dun dun. You better not taunt me. How dare you?
You get to try.
Also, him freaking out and then cutting to this clip is insane, by the way. Going back to the current year and current situation, however, there's another clip from Dr. Disrespect's stream where he talks about leaving social media and, how did he put it, driving off into the sunset.
Like I'm actually tired of being on social media, and I've expressed that over the years, champs. I just, I've always kind of hinted like it'd be nice to get off and just completely separate, right? Go live in Costa Rica or something. But I'm just feeling burnt out, I think, I came into this with, when did we start streaming, champs? 2015, 16? Been doing this since 2009. Different scene back then, having a good time, playing the games that were fun to interact with and create content with. And over the years, it's just gotten, I don't know, like it's been drained out of me. It's being drained out of me. It's being drained out of my family and I. And I just feel like, I had the mindset of, let's just see what happens today. How are we feeling? And I'll tell you, I just, I don't know. I'm just feeling burnt out, Maybe it's time to start something new, something different, challenge those creative senses, a desire to explore different realms, if you will. But I think the first and foremost, though, is, I did have a sort of a planned vacation coming up, and I think I might just extend that starting today, starting now. I mean, it is what it is. People get fatigued, right, champs? And to be honest, I don't know how long, I know from a vacacion, how long my vacation is, but, maybe I extend that. We'll see. I think when I say step away, I'm going to have to relay this to the Midnight Society, but maybe I step away from there too. Just completely remove myself from the scene. It's what I need to do. It's time to drive into the sunset, says Swervin. Ooh, man, I like your style. It might be time to drive in the sunset, champs.
At this point, whether the statement is vague or not, we have him admitting to this. We have his companies dropping him. We have Twitch banning him years ago. We have people that worked for Twitch coming out and stating these things. We have articles reporting on it. I don't see how this person could be innocent in this situation. And you might be saying, well, to Mimi, obviously he's not innocent. He admitted to it. Yes, he admitted to it, but he tried to do so in such a vague way to make him look as best as he possibly could, which, believe it or not, is still causing people to believe that he didn't do anything wrong. Which, by the way, in his statement, he said he didn't do anything wrong, yet at the same time, he's saying he's going to take responsibility. What are you taking responsibility for if you didn't do anything wrong? Or, I'm sorry, as it had been written, no wrongdoing was acknowledged. Not only did his studio drop him, but also Turtle Beaches and the 49ers? He had a partnership with the 49ers.
It's showtime.
We take these developments seriously and will not be working with him going forward. The San Francisco 49ers revealed they stopped working with Dr. Disrespect, and this was posted by Dexerto. Now, since all of this information has come out and gotten so viral over the past few days, a lot of popular streamers who have associated with Dr. Disrespect in any way have come forward and denounced his behavior. They made statements about not condoning what he had done. A lot of them seemed very disgusted and mortified about what had happened, but there were a few that made statements that left me a little bothered. Let me explain. Right off the bat, I want to make it crystal clear that any streamer who is ever associated with Dr. Disrespect, if they want to come out and make a statement, great. If that's what they want to do, I think that's fine. I think quite a few streamers came out with some decent statements that really was short and straight to the point, and I think that's fine. What bothered me was that there were just a few of them who came out with statements that were just as vague as Dr. Disrespect's Twitter statement, in my opinion. Instead of saying he was accused of SEXTing a minor, they just said the same thing that Dr. Disrespect said, which is talking to minors. I think those words should be used at some point, or if you can't use those words for any legal reasons, I think you should just keep it short, straight to the point, and say I denounce what he did, or I don't support what he did, and leave it at that. And again, if he didn't do these things that he was accused of, he's had multiple opportunities to say that he didn't do that word for word. Instead, again, he uses this softer language and danced around it and even said conversations led to being inappropriate. What does that even mean? That doesn't make sense. Just say the truth. And if there's this excuse of not being able to say what you want to say because of legal reasons, you shouldn't be saying anything at all because it's making you look worse. This is just my opinion. Take this with a grain of salt, if you will, because I'm not saying this is fact. I'm just saying that I personally believe that something more sinister had to take place than just a conversation with a minor for his gaming company to drop him, for his sponsors to drop him, for Twitch to completely ban him from the platform, for several people to speak out against him, for this mysterious situation going on for 4 years that we finally just now know, and for people to have made these cryptic tweets for years at this point saying that some really dark, sensitive stuff had taken place behind the scenes, and for another article to be dropped giving even more information regarding the situation by the Rolling Stone. One thing that I find important to mention is that one of the people who helped write this article is the person who had been making tweets about Dr. Disrespect since 2020. And the article is titled, "Dr. Disrespect Knowingly Sent Explicit Messages to a Minor," former Twitch employee says. Banned from the platform in 2020 over inappropriate text to an underage girl, the streamer continues to insist he did nothing wrong. The article starts by going back to 2020 when over 70 allegations were made against different Twitch streamers. And in the article it states, Twitch responded to the outcry on June 21st, 2020, promising to take strong and immediate action on credible allegations against their creators. The article then links to Twitch's Twitter or X profile, which made a statement saying, "We take accusations of harassment and misconduct extremely seriously. We are actively looking into the accounts concerning streamers affiliated with Twitch and will work with law enforcement where applicable. We're thankful for the bravery shown by those who have come forward to speak out about their experiences, and we are committed to working to make the streaming community safer for everyone." Now, simple math will tell you that June 21st is only 5 days before June 26th, which is when the announcement of Dr. Disrespect was banned off of Twitch. So we're skipping down this article a little bit. If you want to read the full thing, I'll link it in the description below. The gossip reached a fever pitch on Friday when former Twitch employee Cody Connors, without naming Bam, who is Dr. Disrespect, tweeted what many interpreted as an explanation as why he had been banned. Bam denied any wrongdoing in a tweet the following day. "I didn't do anything wrong. All of this has been probed and settled, and nothing illegal, no wrongdoing was found," he wrote. But after independently reviewing internal Twitch communications and interviewing a source with knowledge of the situation, Rolling Stone has learned that Bam was kicked off the platform in 2020 for allegedly SEXTing a minor through a since discontinued messaging feature called Whispers, even after learning she was underage. So he had failed to mention in his Twitter statement that he knew her age or not. This article is claiming that he did know her age and continued conversations anyway. That's disgusting. He also allegedly inquired about her plans to attend TwitchCon, the company's semi-annual gaming convention. TwitchCon is semi-annual? The article also mentions 3 sources confirmed to Bloomberg that BM had been kicked off the site for sending direct messages to a minor that included sexually graphic details. 2 of those sources also confirmed that BM had asked about plans for the upcoming TwitchCon. Now, you can take this with a grain of salt if you wish, because I believe that these sources are anonymous at this point in time. It seems that this article is just throwing in some information from the other article written by Bloomberg, which is the article that you have to pay to access. Later on, the article mentions a former Twitch trust and safety employee who worked for the platform at the time BM was banned and has direct knowledge of the matter, confirmed to the Rolling Stone that BM continued to send graphic messages to a minor he knew to be underage. This former employee, who requested anonymity to avoid jeopardizing their career, also said that crucial elements of BM's latest offensive tweet are inaccurate. Again, this is somebody who is anonymous. Take this how you will. I'm just reading what is in this article, but I particularly find this to be horrifying. A quote from this anonymous source: "I recall that Dr. Disrespect was made aware by the individual that they were underage during the conversation, after which he indicated that this was no problem and continued on. There was no confusion. Messages sent after this was acknowledged were no less graphic and explicit nature than before." And I think more than the categorization of leaning too much into the direction of being inappropriate might indicate. That last part was referring to a quote from Dr. Disrespect's Twitter statement. Following BM's ban from Twitch and the time away from the spotlight, he announced a return to streaming on YouTube in August of 2020. But while he was free to use both that platform and Facebook gaming, neither offered him an exclusive partnership. His lack of a streaming contract was notable for a celebrity in the industry at the time, when other streamers like Valkyrae, Ludwig, and Tim the Tatman were signing 7-figure multi-year deals. YouTube's former global head of gaming partnerships at Google, Ryan Watt, confirmed to the Rolling Stone that BM was not offered a contract due to chatter about the circumstances of his Twitch ban. He says that a Twitch employee and journalists investigating the incident told YouTube employees that it involved inappropriate messages to a minor. Again, I'll leave the entire article in the description below so that you can read it. I just wanted to highlight a few important points from this article because this gives a lot more information than what we already knew. I want to know, if this is what people working at Twitch had known for 4 years, why did nobody say anything about this? The only thing I could imagine as a solid excuse would be the fear of legal threat, but if that were the case, then why would some random ex-Twitch employee just randomly come out with this a few days ago? And even if legal implications are involved here, there's no way that something couldn't have at least been publicly implied to give people a warning that this guy isn't safe around kids. The guy dresses up in a goofy costume and streams video games all day. I'm willing to bet that at least half of his audience is under the age of 18. There is another statement from another former Twitch staff member, if I am correct. This is exactly what I'm talking about with people discussing severities behind the scenes. This states, "The Dr. Disrespect situation. I don't think most people have an idea of how bad things were behind the scenes at Twitch. I literally worked in the department that had access to the most data and information. I saw private whispers, etc. It was literally my job to investigate daily. I saw things every single day that I wish I never had to see. I always advocated for being a good human, always expressed with heavy emotion on my streams how Twitch let run free every day. I signed an NDA and was afraid to get in trouble, but I have to say something. It's been bothering me for so long. These sick don't deserve to be free. Sorry, it's pretty vague. I'm literally afraid for legal and safety reasons. This is a lot more detailed than some of the other people have mentioned. Wish I could explain more, but wanted to let you guys know half of the you assume is probably true. Of course, I reported everything I saw directly to authorities within minutes. It's also highly illegal to save anything related to these cases. Look up CSAM laws. Let's just pray investigations complete and the creeps are held accountable. Thanks for the support, and weird people stop." One more thing that I want to clear up is the fact that a lot of people were speculating that in 2017, when Dr. Disrespect cheated on his wife, it was with this minor that he was DMing in Twitch whispers. Somebody on Twitter Twitter has actually debunked this, but yeah, both situations happening in the same year is wild. So as we near the end of this video, there's a few final thoughts that I wanted to share with you on this situation. As this is a developing story, I'm sure there will be more information that comes out over the next few days to weeks. With that being said, after reading these articles, after seeing ex-Twitch employees come out and speak out against Dr. Disrespect, seeing major companies including his own game studio dropping him, seeing Twitch ban him, and now finding out that YouTube allegedly didn't want to give him a contract based off of rumors regarding the situation, it's my personal belief that with all of the information we've gone over today, I don't think he's innocent. And only time will tell if I'm wrong on this, but based off of all of the information we've gone over today, I'm very obviously not buying into his Twitter statement at all, especially considering the fact that he's had multiple opportunities to discuss this further and prove his innocence in this situation, or at the very least just say, no, I did not SCXT a minor. Instead, what he did was use very vague and strange wording to downplay this situation. And I'm also very bothered by the fact that many employees from Twitch seem to have kept this very sealed until some random ex-employee decided to spill the beans on Twitter. Again, as I mentioned previously, I understand legalities or maybe even the possibility of them wanting to keep the situation confidential for the victim involved, but I personally feel like there had to have been something they could have said or done to at least get the message out there that Dr. Disrespect could be a danger to the platforms he was on, as well as the people who followed him. But instead, he was given an additional 4 years, and who knows what could have happened in that time span. The last update that I'm going to leave you with is apparently Dr. Disrespect's YouTube channel has been demonetized, and it doesn't seem like people can become members on his channel anymore, at least at the time of recording this video. Thank you so much if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, and thank you so much to everybody supporting me over on Patreon, and to anybody who has provided me a super thanks. I greatly appreciate it. Once again, I do apologize for sounding redundant in this video. And before I go, I want to give a shout out once again to some organizations that I think could use a helping hand. They will be linked in the description below. The first organization is actually a GoFundMe to help a doctor in Palestine right now who goes by the name of Dr. Muhammad Al-Tala. He is very close to meeting his goal, and I would also like to link below Operation Olive Branch, which is how I found out about Dr. Muhammad Al-Tala. If you would like to check out their website, I will be leaving them linked below, as well as their Instagram page as well, so you can follow them over on there. With that being said, thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you very soon in the next one.
Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Come on in and sit on down. Today, I have something very, very important I'm going to try to drill into your brain. I'm going to try to stop you from going to hell yourself. What is hell exactly? Cruise lines. You ever have somebody who's like, we're going on a cruise? They say it as if it's not a prison sentence. Cruises are the biggest anomaly. It's like if Walmart was a boat. Which, honestly, when you say it out loud like that, it seems pretty cool. But cruise ships are, in my opinion, a floating nightmare. I've been on a cruise ship once whenever I graduated college. I think it was 3 or 4 days in total, and it was 3 or 4 days too long. I think by the first night, you kind of got it, and then you realize, like, oh, shit, I'm stranded on this thing. Cruises have all kinds of crazy things. Drunken fighting, turbulent water. People don't realize how many people go overboard a year on cruise ships, okay? People also don't talk about the rampant assault and even murder that happens on cruise ships. So today I want to go through a couple instances of some very famous cruise ships and cruise incidents, along with some nice factoids to make sure that you do vacationing right and you stay away from cruise ships. So let's get into it. Today this video is sponsored by BetterHelp. Whether you're experiencing stress, long-term issues, or trying to maintain personal goals, BetterHelp's therapy is here to help you. And if you click the link in the description, you'll get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. BetterHelp makes therapy so much easier and a lot less intimidating. Meet your way with virtual sessions, a simple phone call, or even messaging back and forth. Whatever that is most comfortable to you is the way BetterHelp wants to work. And since BetterHelp's benefits are virtual, you can match with over 30,000 therapists based on your needs and preferences and find the perfect therapist for you. Depending on where you live, you may only have a few options around town. Do you really want to drive miles, have to sit in a lobby, and kind of, hope that a therapist works, only to have you be wish-washy on the issue? Instead, maybe deal with these issues from the comfort of your home instead of out and about and all that kind of stuff, and have BetterHelp get you started. In most cases, people who join BetterHelp get matched with a therapist within 48 hours. And to lighten the stress even further, you don't have to worry about the awkwardness of breaking up with your therapist. If you feel like someone isn't a great fit, you can switch at any time with the click of a button for free. Join over 4 million people who've used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/papameat to get started. Click the link helps support the channel, and it also gives you 10% off your first month at BetterHelp. Thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this video, and back to the video. Cruises right now are almost a $30 billion a year industry. Isn't that crazy? The amount of people, though, that I hear, they're like, I'm going on a cruise. We're going up to Alaska to look at whales, and we get to go on a whale cruise. I would rather go to like a corn maze in Iowa. I think I can confidently say that enough. I think I can confidently say I'd rather go to like in a corn maze. This is a heavy hitter, and this would be a nightmare for everyone involved. And it's the infamous poop cruise of 2013. A fire in the engine room of the Carnival Triumph led to some horrific events. Smoke in the hallway quickly turned to piled up red biohazard bags filled with poop. Out of all the echelons of ranking the cruise ships, I think Carnival is like the worst. I believe I've heard it called the Spirit Airlines of cruise ships. I've heard it definitely called the Walmart of cruise ships. More than 4,000 passengers and crew members were stranded aboard after a fire knocked out the ship's power. And during this time, they were without air conditioning, without lighting, food, water, and working toilets. At the time of setting sail in February, Triumph only had 4 of its 6 generators fully operational, and the company had an ongoing fire hazard in ships across its fleet. So even before they set off, they realized that 2 of our generators are down, and they were just like, we cannot take the financial hit. Please go. We gotta get people on the Carnival cruising. Get them out there in the ocean. Go. So for 4 days, poop was everywhere on this cruise ship, okay? The toilets wouldn't flush, and in some cases, toilets erupted. They overflowed and spilled into the hallways. People were handed bags and told to poop in the red biohazard bag instead of using toilets. Because if you use the toilet, it's probably gonna explode and make things much worse. Imagine someone coming up to you just being like, please, just use this instead. These workers who probably fucking live on the boat 8 months out of the year a lot of these times are now subjected to being poop police. And this is supposed to be your vacation. You know what? I hate to say it, but this is divine punishment in a lot of ways. I think this is God letting you know. He's like, better watch out. They thought that this would be a civilized act, but in the end, poop was smeared all over the walls, all over the floor. People were rioting with poop on the Carnival cruise ship, and raw sewage pooled at the end of the deck. It all just accumulated at the end of the deck, and some passengers avoided what little food there was so they didn't have to use their red bag. They saw the horrors going on, and they were just like, we won't be one of those red baggers. The ship still operates, and the craziest thing is after all of this nightmare, this giant publicity stunt that happened, they still use this specific ship that probably has dried up shit somehow. It's probably in the walls, it's under the floor, but like, there's no way that they did a good enough cleaning. There's no way Carnival Cruises actually gave a fuck about that. They're probably just like, yeah, replace the carpet, we'll be fine. Moving on. But due to the loss of power, the ship's stabilizer stopped working, causing the ship to list, which I'll give you a nice little description of what that is here, which sloshed all the water and sewage aboard. It really put a damper on the whole thing. And after the vessel took on water and tilted to one side, the ship's carpets and walls were soaked in a mixture of sewage and water. Many guests dragged their mattresses to outside decks to escape the high heat because there was no AC and the nauseating smell. So the heat and the cooking poop probably made what I could only assume is a mustard gas in the air. And to escape it, they tried sleeping in the hallways instead. They tried going outside and sleeping on the docks to no avail. It was just a big poopy situation. It was a big shit-filled sandwich. Some guests even constructed makeshift tents on the tanning deck with their bed sheets, which if you look at this, it looks like a fucking Mad Max picture. This is pretty unbelievable, but I will say out of all of this, the slide looks pretty fun. I would have gone on the slide, especially if there is a shitty situation. You have to enjoy it somehow, right? You're stranded at sea for 4 days. If you're gonna get shit on you somehow, at least let it be the slide is what I have to say. This is where shit really hit the fan. I keep saying these shit lines and it's making me laugh, but in an odd gesture to pacify guests, the cruise announced it would be hosting an open bar from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Why on God's green earth would you want that drunk chaos when people have no real food or water? People are shitting themselves. None of the sewage system works. So now let's just get them drunk?
What?
This proved to be a horrible idea as guests on board became unruly, getting into fights, throwing things overboard, and damaging the already compromised restrooms. And the next day, the crew awoke to the news that they had drifted too far off course from the intended destination for the emergency port, which is really funny because that means to me that the crew definitely got fucking smashed as well to probably cope with how terrible this whole situation was going. They probably got absolutely smashed and they woke up the next day and they were like,
Oh my God, where the fuck are we?
and it was definitely it would be definitely a comedy movie situation, except it's real life and people are probably extremely mad. They were so far off course that they had to get towed to Mobile, Alabama, adding another 2 days to the hell. They were already in it for 4 days and then they had to stack on additional 2 just to get towed to an area where they could let people off and get out of this fucking nightmare. In the end, multiple passengers sued the cruise line, and in response, the company pointed out that they quote unquote said they never promised a safe trip. They pulled it in and people of Mobile, Alabama were actually complaining how bad the ship smelled itself. Carnival Cruise, though they provided all passengers a full reimbursement, a free flight home, and a $500 credit, which what a slap in the face. $500 credit to what? Hey, you're gonna come see us again, aren't you? Hey, if you do have another vacation with, you know, your old ass wife and your annoying kids, please consider Carnival, would you? Tons of passengers still sued the company. Most, if not all though, lost their cases. No one really got reimbursed for this horrible fucking tragedy, basically being in prison for 6 days on a shitty, smelly ship, and Carnival made it out scot-free. And this exact ship is still used today. Blows my fucking mind. But you think sewage and poop are the only reasons to not go on one of these cruise ships? No, no, no. It is estimated that there are over 300 deaths on cruises each year. From 2000 to 2019, only 623 were reported. So I don't know what happened there. I think Carnival Cruises and Royal Caribbean and everyone else got the books together and they fudged some numbers. But still, in a 20-year span, how does 623 people, how do they just magically die? It still feels like such a high count to me. I don't know. Next up, in terms of death on a cruise, we're going to speak of the sinking Seawall. Swall. On April 16, 2014, the Seawall ferry sank on its way to South Korea. Out of 476 passengers, 304 of them died. 250 of these deaths were students. Most of the people that survived were rescued by fishing boats. When the ship was purchased in 2012, the ship was 18 years old and severely run down. After the purchase, the ship underwent modifications that were deemed illegal, but the Korean Register of Shipping let it go because the ship had, quote unquote, normally passed its inspections and tests. Here's a list of some of these modifications. Addition of 2 decks, expansion of cargo gross tonnage, adding 239 tons, increasing the passenger capacity from 116 people to 956 people. These modifications caused the center of gravity to be moved upward, and it also caused a left to right imbalance. The vessel made 241 round trips before its final voyage, and at the time of sinking, it was carrying over 2,000 tons. The water balance tank beneath the hull of the ship, designed to keep it upright, was only adjusted for 800 tons of cargo, making the ship unstable. And like we said, it was only made for 800, but at this time, it was carrying over 2,000 tons. So just greatly over what it was supposed to be carrying. Due to the imbalance, the ship listed and needed directional guidance. The captain and his crew abandoned the ship shortly after telling passengers to wear extra clothing and life vests and to stay in their rooms. What a fucking monster, honestly. This fucking coward told people not to move and made an escape and did not let anybody know. The Coast Guard, who had jurisdiction, did not mobilize. They did not share the valuable data and did not act, leaving civilians and other organizations to step in, which is why many were rescued by fishermen and some commercial ships in the area. So literally, the Coast Guard didn't do anything in that situation. They didn't mobilize. They didn't share data. It was literally people from the town, fishermen from the town, that went out to help people. And that's pretty much why the people that were able to survive were saved by fishermen and civilians alike. I mean, these people were the actual heroes of the situation. Due to inaccurate reporting of survivors and those rescued, it was months before they revealed that the majority of people perished. And on May 15th, the captain and the 3 crew members were charged with murder. Yes! Yes! I fucking love these story endings! Except the people dying. That was not cool. Ugh, God, what a fucking coward. The sinking of the Swall and the young lives lost shocked and outraged the nation so much that many citizens citizens called for the death penalty, something that South Korea hadn't administered in almost 20 years. Even the captain's brother said he deserved the death penalty. That's really funny. He's just like, fuck that guy. I know, he's real blood. He's my brother, but fuck that guy. 11 other members were indicted for abandoning the ship, and an arrest warrant was also issued to Yoo Byung-hyun, owner of the ferry operation, but he could not be found despite a nationwide manhunt. That little slippery son of a bitch. In July of 2014, Byung-hyun was found in a field just south of Seoul. I wonder, that feels a little suspicious to me. And in 2017, 3 years later, the sunken ferry was raised from the sea floor where the trapped bodies of 9 of the victims were presumed to be inside. The body of a 16-year-old girl was never found. What a tragic, tragic end. I mean, just something where it's people trying to make extra money out of something. I do not trust these companies. I don't trust any of these cruise companies. It is the shadiest, weirdest shit. The ocean is just so scary within itself. I cannot imagine being some of these people and, God forbid, drowning to death. My God. I'm glad. I know, and I hope that he got the fucking death penalty as well. And you know what you're probably saying to yourself too? Well, if something bad happens on these ships, surely they have doctors, right?
Well, let me tell you another story.
On a separate cruise line, one of the employees has their arm amputated after experiencing flu-like symptoms. Let me say that again. An employee on a cruise line had his arm cut off, amputated, because he was showing flu-like symptoms. What? A carpenter, Elijah Lonkar, went to the doctor on board of the Norwegian breakaway, Sebastian Campuzano. The doctor was very young and extremely inexperienced. He was prescribed promethazine. Promethazine? Like Prometheus? The guy who fucking stole fire and gave it to humans? Holy shit, that's sweet. Elijah was prescribed a promethazine shot and was given far too much. The injection is supposed to be, shot in your butt, but the doctor insisted on injecting it intravenously. And even after several complaints of the patient describing burning sensation and exhibiting some gangrene symptoms, the doctor continued administering promethazine via IV. So this doctor doesn't know what he's doing. He is literally hired professionally by this cruise ship to be there. And instead of giving the promethazine, it's just like a one-time shot in your butt. He is giving it to him via IV. It's almost as if it's like a fucking morphine tap, which because of this, his arm had to be amputated. And he sued the Norwegian cruise line and was awarded $4.6 million. But even with $4.6 million, which is awesome, that doesn't bring back your fucking arm, dude. So we've talked about tragedy. We've talked about accidents that happen, right? Well, needless to say, they're man-made accidents, thinking that 2 of your generators not working isn't a problem and it starts a fire. But, accidents, needless to say. Then you have a little bit of negligence, right? Or greed and negligence. You sit there and you let too many people come on, the fucking boat capsizes and people die. Or even you show some flu-like symptoms, you go see the doctor and you end up getting your arm fucking cut off. But out of all of these, the #1 reported crime on cruise ships to date is assault. Feels like such an obvious statement to say, but it is pretty crazy how egregious this is. Despite the severity of it, cruise ships have little interest in offering solutions, as it's likely cheaper to pay victims off than it is to implement precautionary measures. In a specific Carnival cruise case where they were talking about a group assault on a minor, they went on record by saying that installing cameras and hiring more security would just be far too expensive, and they just weren't going to do it. So they'd just rather be like, we're just going to pay the victims off and their families. And another crazy statistic is 25% of these assaulters are crew members, people who work for the fucking cruise lines themselves. And I'm building up all of this information and telling you some of these statistics because it leads up to the Margaritaville at Sea Paradise incident. A bartender stole the key card to the room of a Jane Doe while serving her drinks. He snuck her to a room, and after she and her roommate had gone to bed, he assaulted her. And eventually, she found out she was pregnant and was forced to terminate the pregnancy. These assaults are so common in like cruise lines and stuff. There's an actual market for safety gear for reinforcing locks on cabin doors to remain safe. People get assaulted on these cruises all the time, and what's crazy is 70% of all assaults on U.S. cruises are on Royal Caribbean or Carnival cruises. I'm putting that out there just in case you hear someone who's like, hey, let's go on a Carnival cruise. You might be like, hey, can I give you this statistic? 70% of all reported assaults on these cruise lines in the U.S. are Royal Caribbean and Carnival. That's insane. When you're on these cruise ships as well, with the amount of assault, murders, negligence of people, one of the craziest things is passengers being more harmed to themselves than anything. That's people going overboard, going missing, right? People voluntarily jump overboard all the time. It's just, I don't know why people do it. I don't think people really realize how extreme the ocean actually is. The ocean is fucked. Like, if you jump in the ocean, you're gone. Especially on a cruise ship, it's just like, boop, bye. This video shows a guy jumping off into the ocean in the middle of the night. You would, how would you find him? He's gone. He's still missing. That guy is still missing today. The guy we just watched jump up, he's gone. Don't know what happened to him, okay? Well, I think we know what happened to him, but you know what? He had just graduated college. The same reason why I was on my cruise ship, to think I could have been a man who jumped overboard in the middle of the night. My God. Some people, all the times, you get drunk, you lose your balance, you fall. And even in one of these cases, a man spent 20 hours in shark-infested waters, and he was supposedly sober. I think he was probably drunk as shit. shit.
Did you have a few drinks?
I had during the day. I'd actually did like an air guitar solo, and there was a competition they were doing, and I'd won it, so I'd won a free drink.
And there's even sometimes too where it's not even a dare, or you're not even trying to be a badass, you're not even drunk. The woman here, she's just leaning backwards, loses her balance and falls. And there she goes. I mean, it's staggering. There is nothing there to save you. Once you're over that dock, it is so rare that they get you, dude. Sometimes passengers go missing without going overboard. And as cruise ships have strict docking and departing times, it's often the case that passengers will be left behind at foreign destinations and never be seen again. When you're on these cruise lines, you're kind of hopping from island to island, and it's kind of like little resort towns and stuff like that. But these people, it's not like there's like a last call or something like a fucking bus. It's these motherfuckers leave. And a lot of the times when these people leave these ports, you're just gone. You never hear from these people again. Who knows what happens to them? Drugged, murdered, robbed, everything. I mean, the worst happens. Speaking of one of these victims was Amy Lynn Bradley. She went missing March 23rd of 1998. She came in late with her younger brother from clubbing on board around 3:40 a.m. and went to sleep on the balcony. At 6 a.m., her father woke to check on her, and she was missing. Authorities were immediately alerted as to her disappearance, and it was theorized she fell overboard and drowned, despite people asserting she was a very strong swimmer. Which, listen, dude, if you're a strong swimmer, who gives a shit? It's the fucking ocean. Like, people don't realize the power of the ocean. It's so scary. I'm telling you, the ocean is the scariest thing on earth. I don't care what anybody says. The captain refused to put out a call for her, refused to put up photos for her, and did not even attempt to search for her until noon of the next day after the ship had been disembarked and unlocked. In 1999, a member of the U.S. Navy claimed to have seen her working in a brothel where she told him who she was and begged for help. He did not. He did not report the sighting until after he retired, as he feared the repercussions to his career if he reported it. So because he didn't want to lose his stupid ass fucking job in the Navy, he never told about this woman in the brothel and never helped her until he retired. A fucking coward. An employee going by the nickname Yellow that had been seen dancing with her was quoted to have said that he felt bad about what happened to her before the search for her on the ship had even completed. Strange. It's almost as if he knew. Another sighting of her in 2005 showed her being held by 3 men in a department store restroom. She tried begging another person for help, but was taken away. Evidence has presented itself to assume that she was sold into sex trafficking. And a jawbone washed ashore in Aruba in 2010. Once they concluded it was not another missing person, it was disposed of with no DNA testing done, despite 9 other missing Caribbean vacationers. You see a bone wash up on the beach? Toss it back. It's good luck. Fuck's sakes, man. At some point, a scammer contacted the family and proved to be legitimate enough to send over $200,000 to forge a rescue attempt to find Amy. Blew all the money on drinks and gambling and demanded more money after he provided convincing evidence that he found her in a fenced compound. Eventually, it was found out that it was a hoax, and he was convicted and ordered to pay back all that he stole. It's such a fucking horrible thing, especially to lie about that and get a family's hopes up is just so sad. And I wanted to include one from Disney Cruises because Disney Cruises scared the shit out of me, and unfortunately we have to talk about Rebecca Corium, which this incident happened in March 22nd, 2011. She did not show up to her shift in the morning, was behaving distraught beforehand, and Disney publicly claimed to have no knowledge of where or when she went missing. Employees off the record were quoted saying they were supposed to tell people it quote-unquote didn't happen. Flowers are placed at a certain part of the deck by the company where she was suspected of going overboard. These employees claim to have witnessed things or even know about things off the record, but it was publicly suggested she had a lover that she was having a fight with and committed suicide despite giving no other indication to family members. Her girlfriend went on the record several years later and claimed that she was using cocaine and having difficulties of that nature. There was even a claim that maybe a rogue wave swept her off, but the weather records indicate that it was like a pretty calm night, and that was very unlikely. They were given another crew member's flip-flops and told that she might have taken them off to sit on the rail and slipped off. Only one international police officer ever showed up, and a report was never done. A private settlement was reached 4 years later for an undisclosed sum, and this person, once again, never found. It's pretty insane the amount of horrible shit that goes on cruise lines. And here's the thing, I understand that horrible shit happens everywhere, right? But the idea that a cruise ship, you're completely stranded. These things that are supposed to be high luxury, your getaway, it's the thing that you work hard to pay for, and it's like these ultimate fucking death traps. At a moment's notice, you could just go overboard and go missing forever, and no one would ever find you. Something wrong can happen on the ship that you had no control over, and these companies should be held more responsible. But, $29 billion a year industry, I doubt that anything's going to change, and people are going to keep going because they have Guy Fieri Burger open 24 hours on these ships, and they have casinos and all this shit. And let me tell you, you will never find me on a cruise ship again. That shit is way, way too scary, especially with the ocean and stuff. If you've ever been on a cruise ship at night and you look off, it is a black void. There is nothing. You really don't know how alone you are until you're on a fucking cruise ship and you realize, oh fuck, I'm trapped. And the only thing you get to do is go off into these like vacation resort towns that are just filled with people trying to get you to buy shit. Personally, if I were you, don't go on a cruise. Find some other kind of vacation to do. You know what I mean? Treat yourself right. Buy yourself something nice. Pick up a new hobby, but for the love of God, stay away from cruise ships. Thank you so much for watching this video, and have a good one. See you guys.
Oh, he tried to dunk back. That didn't work. He got the What the was that? What's going on? Anti-Momentum, ladies and gentlemen. Esteemed political analyst, Substack writer, writes for other outlets as well now, not just Substack. It's starting, it's beginning, and I'm sharing the screen so you can watch it with me. I'm stoked. I'm tapped in. I'm locked in. Oh God.
Oh no, not the walk.
He walks like too. He's walking like. Oh, he's got no riz.
Walk for walk.
Oh, he's got no riz. He's got no riz.
How is he going slower?
He's walking rizless.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern: the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120.
They're coming in hot.
And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left under the campaign.
Oh, he sounds like
Mr. Trump left.
No, he needs to get a cold.
It was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach in your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so we had to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out another position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done.
The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce-back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world, he's the only one who thinks that, I think. I'm the only one else who thinks he's the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we find ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began.
He inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months, and then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
Child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look.
Oh, no.
No, not the side eye.
Oh, no!
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Oh, they cut him off!
This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Come on, good. Bring it back. This is a good one. This is a good one for the Democrats. Come on, Joe. Don't f this up, Joe.
Stop the fact.
To abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it.
The vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is a guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help.
He said
The
him
idea
as
that
a doctor.
states
He's not
will
woke.
do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming into.
You're talking about abortion, man.
Here's the deal. There's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws,
short-circuiting,
by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. Considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world.
He said immigrant
And he opened
rapists,
it up, and these killers are
victims
coming
need
into our country.
abortions.
There are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
Ban?
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president.
But you did.
Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
President Trump.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000
Yo, get ready for the dick riding. Get ready for the dick riding.
Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages.
That's not an answer. You're just repeating the deal that he's saying no to.
Ceasefire with additional conditions.
The question is, what will you do to pressure him?
The war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas.
Israel and Hamas. Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
What the was that?
Foolishness.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people.
He encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours. 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. He went to every single court in the nation. How many cases? Scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
Oh, he said it!
And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are
You can tell his strong elements. Like, you can tell when he's, like, invested. This is one of those things. Typical old man, doesn't give a shit about anything.
Of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant. I mean, what are you talking about? You're the morals of an alley cat.
Good answer.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent.
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Bro. I've never seen a bigger layup get flubbed so abysmally. Like, this is incredible. Banger after banger. He
is too old. He's just actually too old.
No,
it's
literally.
It's not a perception problem.
It literally looks like he's trying to push the finish. Like, it looks like they are trying to push him through the finish line. Like, he's gonna die the moment that he's in office if he actually ends up like winning, which his chances are looking less likely after today.
Yeah, he needs to be president until he's 86. Like, he just needs to do that for some reason.
What the I mean, look, the expected thing was obviously the gyration session that we saw for Israel dick riding, and even then, like, that was whatever, right? They quickly glanced it. CNN's not going to cover it. They don't want to make up a big stink. However, the abortion question, that's a layup. They gave that to you, dog. You boofed it. He
literally his worst issue.
Rapist immigrants? Like,
bring up his worst issue. Of every issue, he has a 20% approval rating on immigration. Abortion is the sole issue that people trust him on.
And he turned it into the issue that he's like one of the weakest on, which is so insane. I've never seen such a absolute masterclass in how to genuinely just like flub clear-cut alley-oops. Oh my Lord, dude.
The only like silver lining for this is that people already thought Biden was like this to begin with, and he was already kind of competitive still. So like it might not change anything. Like people already thought this was what he was like.
No, dude, this is not for those people though. This is not for those people. This is for Pennsylvania voters. This is for voters in like Georgia. This is for voters in these are for like the 20% that's still like, oh, I don't really like either candidate. I don't know what's going on. Like, you know, that's the reason why it's so early. The reason why they did this so early was because the Biden team thought if Biden can perform, right, low expectations, and Biden performs, and then Trump says like a bunch of crazy nonsense, right, then like those voters will be reminded of how chaotic Donald Trump was. And there is no way that you can hack job this into a manageable situation for Biden that like makes Trump look worse and Biden look better, because every frame side by side he's looking like a doddering old fool looking in the other direction. It's so bad. Yeah, and obviously the massive moment of the debate is like when he flubbed it, when he just went and then just like stopped himself. Every moment. I mean, it's just like the split screen is absolutely cooking him, because I don't think he's aware that he's on camera all the time. And when he's on camera all the time, he just looks like he's like gazing off and seeing the Grim Reaper in the other side of the god room. You know what I mean? Does he still believe this pre-debate take? New article in Debate Tomorrow, while conservatives may not want to admit it.
I was trying to be conservative here. I thought that like, well, it doesn't matter how bad Biden does. People already think he's like terrible. He's totally out of it. So like that's going to be a wash. But like to make Trump look bad, you kind of have to like apply some pressure onto him. Yeah. And Biden's just not doing that at all. Honestly, it makes me kind of like appreciate like kind of bring back Hillary a little bit, because like she won that first debate in 2016. She like did a good job then. God,
it's actually crazy. There are so many instances where like they're throwing Biden layups. They're like obviously tough on him too, to a certain degree, with like the expected issues, like, you know, inflation, things like that, immigration. But like, it's just, oh, it's back.
38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever.
H2O.
We were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way,
he's dying. He's dead.
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
Yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making
come on, this is good.
6%
good policy talk. Raise the cap. Raise the cap.
Time to get a paycheck at the time the first one you get.
He's gonna give a Twitch Prime to every Social Security recipient, so they don't see the 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour.
Millionaires pay 1%.
Twitch Prime is free, folks.
So no one after
ad break incoming.
Not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, it began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
This was good. This was a good answer. I wish he did this more.
He doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put him there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody?
Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them. Both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests.
Right now.
Physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was.
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's anyway. Just take a look at
what he tried to dunk back. That didn't work.
Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him.
No.
I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And by the way,
they're so lame. They're so lame. This is like real. He hates it.
It was a 6 handicap of all.
I was
oh, God. I want to die. Shoot me into the sun. Shoot me into the sun right now.
Let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
Let's not act like children.
to a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week.
Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There's no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accepted anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate, live from Georgia.
Bro, that was crazy.
Biden fat shamed him.
Oh yeah, I mean that was he tried. The problem is he tried and he failed because he flubbed it when he's like,
I'm so bad at snipers right now. So bad.
You're 6'5", 200, and that was insane, brother. That was actually
a reference to such an obscure thing. It was like about how like he like said his weight when he got put in for like the conviction in Georgia was 215, which is like funny, but I haven't thought about that in like a year.
Yeah, I mean that's. There's a lot of bangers in there. Like the Alley Cat one was such a banger that they laid that up and tweeted it alongside, you know, like how Kamala released their merch drop in the primaries, like way back in the day. It's just like, dude.
When they pre-planned that,
yeah, it was.
They were like, oh god,
yeah, just like they pre-planned the drink, where like as though they were popping off. You know what I mean? As though Biden was going to really show up tonight. I'm telling you right now. Here's a tweet from Kevin Barron. Okay. Christoph, Ed Luce, Ron Fournier, Nick Christoph, seeing lots of columnists, veteran White House reporters, prominent liberals calling for Biden to drop out before the debate is halfway over and give someone else a chance. Remarkable. It took them this long for them to come up with what like 60% of Americans had seen. What?
I wrote an article about how like he was a risky pick in April of 2023.
Dude, even like, you know who also surprisingly was saying this, by the way, until it was far too late, like all the way until it was far too late and he shut the fuck up about it. Motherfucking David Axelrod. Like, even he was on CNN being like, yeah, we probably shouldn't do this, but what do I know? What the fuck do I know?
That just pissed Biden off, and because Biden is like beyond like being old and like incompetent and whatever, he's just a complete just like child about this type of stuff. He hates all the Obama people. He thinks that they all tried to like end his career like to help Hillary. And so
to be fair, they did tell him not to run, and like we do know that was an error because like if he had run back then, he would have won. So I think he just like kept that resentment going. And he never stopped. He never stopped with that resentment. And
he's like a Nixonian figure.
Yeah, and now we're stuck. Now we're just perma stuck in this situation. And holy shit, dude, this is so bad. Trump is, doing regular old Trump stuff, which might be unappealing, I think, because he's starting to like let loose a little bit. He was significantly more quote unquote presidential in the first half. And he's just like now he's just like memeing beyond. Like if he kept it to light jabs every now and then, like he was doing in the first half of the session of the debate, if you can call it that, he would have looked a lot better. He just keeps planting the immigrants are responsible for everything thing into basically every conversation. They'll be like, what about the opiates? Immigrants are bringing opiates. But what about child tax credits? Immigrants are eating the children, and that's why we will not have any tax credits for children. There's no what about child poverty? Immigrants are bringing in children that are poor. Like everything's an immigrant.
He does not fuck around about being racist. He does not play.
Yeah, and they're also doing the classic thing. Oh, wait, it's starting again. This has got to be like the final words, I suspect.
As predetermined by a coin toss, we're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. The fact is, as I said, nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in the taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. What I did, well, for example, he wants to get away with get rid of the ability of Medicare to the ability.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do, all he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president.
What a nightmare, dude. Wow. What a nightmare. What an absolute nightmare. It's Jover. I mean, it is Jover, right? Can we say that? It's Jover? What are they doing?
Know. I mean, he can still win the Electoral College even if he loses the popular vote. But, like, God, that was not good. It was not good at all. Like, I mean, if you want to, like, have a silver lining here, it's that everybody already thinks he's just completely out of it, and this only just, like, confirms that. But like Trump didn't really get caught up on any of his bad issues. He was completely unable to press any of like the things like even like abortion or
look at Joe Biden trying to walk away. You see that?
Oh God,
he needs Jill to like walk him.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that like the reason, like I said, the reason why they did this early was because they wanted people to see that he was virile. Okay,
yeah.
That he was a stud, and he absolutely is not a stud. He did not show up tonight. There were moments
like they were leaking to the Wall Street Journal that he has a cold.
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
That's great. That definitely fixes it.
Yeah, thanks for telling us now.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't look like you were trying to desperately do PR as a last-ditch effort. Certainly.
I guess there is a second debate in September.
He's not. Is he gonna survive? Is he gonna survive until September? Like he's dying. He's literally dying in front of our eyes. He is a cadaver rotting. That was incredible. I personally think that this is going to have, like, CNN can try to spin this as hard as they want, but this was a unfathomable W for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like, not even a question, because everybody pays attention to the beginning of the debate, right? Like, that's the most important part. And the beginning of the debate, Biden unironically performed worse. Because this was about, like, not even what Biden was saying, but how Biden was saying it. And on the aesthetics front, he can't do anything. He just looks old. Like, he looks like his face is kind of like, he's obviously got the old man face.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, he looked old in 2020, but he could at least, like, deliver a point. Like, it was... He couldn't, like, he took, like, his best issue, abortion. Trump literally said that it was a good thing that Roe v. Wade was overturned. Like, that's a layup. You've been begging for him to say that for, like, a year. And he couldn't press with that. He brought up Laken Riley.
Yeah,
Why
that
would
was
you do
insane. He looked lost the entire time. Sources, by the way, look at the Chiron. Sources, Democrats concerned about Biden's performance tonight. It's so Jover.
That quick? Like, 5 minutes? It took them that long to kind of tell what was going on?
Like, what the are the Democrats thinking?
He's been doing that constantly, and it hasn't worked. They announced that deal in December, and his numbers only improved after the conviction. The idea that he can, like, move to the right to solve his issues is just... There are people like who were swearing up and down before this that the issue here was like his FTC commissioner. Like, and it's just, I mean, you can't Keir Starmer your way out of this. The issue is clearly the guy on stage.
Yeah, no, it's really, really bad. And it's really bad. And it's not like, it's a layup for an average Democrat, not like a topper. Dean Phillips could do a better job showing. Kamala Harris could do a better job showing up and demonstrating positions. Cause like Donald Trump is sitting up there saying some of the most heinous, unimaginably insane shit. The problem is when you lock yourself into the we are the party that is going to restrict immigration, though, you can't really do anything about it. You can't really
accept this framing. They said he was right.
You cannot outflank your opponent on racism, on police brutality, and like, you know, doing more, funding the police more, like being tough on crime. You just cannot outflank the Republican Party on these issues. all you're doing is basically capitulating to their framing on the matter.
Yeah, I don't know how you could even like really argue like the Trump, because they've admitted that he was like saying, oh, on my second term, I'm going to shut down the border completely. I'm only halfway there. Like, what are you saying? Like, why did we elect you if Trump was right about this? What was the point?
There's no world in which you turn around and go, you know what, actually, I want to vote for Biden because he's the border guy. No, you're going to go with the border guy who's been talking about how rapist immigrants are, how they've invented new ways of doing rape for like the past 8 years, you know? All you've now done is basically solidify his position as truth, even though the underlying evidence for it, the premises that this immigration conversation is derived from, is complete nonsense. There are so many studies on this. For the first time ever, I heard NPR talk about this morning on The Issue Is or whatever, one of those NPR shows, where they finally said it. They were like, yeah, immigration is a really tough issue for Biden. Also, simultaneously, there's no empirical evidence to suggest that immigrants are doing more crime than like natural-born U.S. citizens. As a matter of fact, there's only evidence to show that immigrants are responsible for less crime per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens. It took them this long to say this.
It's not even true that they're bringing in fentanyl. Almost all fentanyl comes in through ports of entry, like legally. Would you know that if you listen to Biden? No.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like these are DHS numbers. 90% of all fentanyl trafficked over the border comes from regular points of entry. And you know who's actually the ones who are trafficking it? Not undocumented migrants, it's Americans. It's like people who are less likely to be stopped and apprehended by Customs and Border Patrol. Those are the motherfuckers who are doing it. It's coming in shipping containers, and when it's coming with like individuals, it's coming in like American Honda Civics that are cut down with like white American dudes driving the Honda Civic because they're less likely to be caught.
Yeah, Democrats used to say this like 5-6 years ago before Biden. They did push back against this stuff. They said the wall was stupid. They brought up they said this, and the polling, they persuaded people. The wall was never popular. Immigration was never something Trump was actually good on. But they've had to construct these narratives about like how any issue Biden faces has to be something other than race. It has to be not race. I mean age. It has to be over like that he's too left-wing economically. It has to be that he's not pro-Israel enough. It has to be that he's not strong enough on immigration. They're throwing everything overboard so they can just avoid reality. And like something has got to give.
I know. It is really, really, really frustrating. People are saying that MSNBC is in full panic mode right now. Like CNN, the Chiron is saying, sources, them saying we have a problem after Biden's performance tonight. He's losing the New York Times columnist. Like I showed, like Nicholas Kristof is talking about how he needs to drop out and like it's so Jover.
Yeah, it's just strange. Like
Newswire from Politico. Democrats freak out over Biden's debate performance. Biden is toast.
Even Jeff Tetrick just said, "What the did I just watch?" Jeff Tetrick isn't spinning it.
Yeah, it's so bad. It is so unimaginably bad, and it's like we've been there. We have been here for years at this point. So it's kind of shocking that they are finally coming to that recognition, as though like this is what it took. Like, I don't know what the their expectation was. I don't know. I don't know what the they were thinking. That was the worst aura from a president I've ever seen in my life. Bro, he's dead. There's no more aura. He's 1 HP. Yeah. Someone needs to throw him a health potion, but he's not going to survive. You know what I mean? He's done. He's dead. Aaron Rupar's tweeting about like, oh, well, seems like Biden was a little flustered here. It's so bad.
It's like the extent that like liberals have gone over the past year to just believe anything other than the fact that Biden might be too old. They have been willing to just say that Trump is popular. They've been willing to say that people want immigration restrictions. They've been willing to say that basically this country has no hope, and to live out this fantasy that Biden is the best candidate available. And it's why do you even do that? Why would you want to believe that?
It's because the Democratic Party is secretly run by accelerationist MAGA communists. That's why.
Yes.
Jimmy Dore is actually taking over the Democratic Party, and they're like, how do we get Trump a second term? We put Biden back in there. Okay, we roll him out, definitely, and then ultimately you will, with a certainty, you will have Donald Trump as president. It's phenomenal. The Democratic Party down ballot is going to, for the first time ever, potentially carry the top of the ticket. That's not normal. That doesn't happen. They literally are outperforming. Dude, Democratic senators in their races right now are outperforming Joe Biden in Nevada, Arizona, and many other states by like 10 points. sometimes 15 points. That is so insane.
It doesn't happen. People literally, like the people, like the really pro-Biden people are like, well, this literally can't happen. These numbers are too big. Well, maybe like it's not like that infeasible. Maybe there's something different about this one guy compared to like regular Bob Casey or Jackie Rosen or whoever.
Someone in his focus group, in Franklin's focus group, said, I don't even know if Biden can make it to November. I mean, yeah, me, I think that.
Even if like he drops out here, it's still so embarrassing because he could have dropped out like at any point before this. It didn't have to get to this point.
Yep, it is every single day that is wasted is getting closer and closer to absolute bedlam. I mean, we're already there. Like, what are they gonna do? I guess they can do like the convention, like they can change it up, old school style, you know, rock out with your cock out like it's the 60s again.
I know, that'd be kind of sick.
Yeah, I don't even know how they, I mean, I guess the DNC technically legally, because they fought that court case in after 2016, they legally can choose whoever they want.
Right, that's always been the case. They just don't do it like that ever since the 70s.
They could choose, I'm just saying, they could choose whoever they want. Like they could literally completely cast aside all of the delegates and everything else and just be like, no, this is our guy.
Yeah, who should they run? Who do you think they should run?
I mean,
do you think?
I think you're absolutely right.
Let's go.
It's Greg. It's Big Greg.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it is.
Very popular, very important state, and very popular. She's a woman, so that'll make the Democratic Party look even more woke on abortion.
Yeah. I don't think she would. I think if they asked her about abortion, she wouldn't talk about immigration instead.
Like, dude, anyone. I don't know. Like literally anyone.
Obama. Bring back Obama.
Yeah, good. Michelle Obama. Anything's better at this point.
Yeah. It would be
Anyway.
kind of, imagine him like winning this year and then he's president until he's like 86. It's going to get so crazy.
What they're saying, one House Democrat described the president's debate performance as awful, exclaiming, "What the f? I am in a state of shock," said another. Why are you shocked? I know. How are you shocked? That's how he is.
They've been
All
in
the
La La
time.
Land. It's like they just hear them say, oh, Biden's actually really sharp behind closed doors, and they legitimately believed it.
I just don't understand it. Like, are you never around him? Like, what's happening? You never see him? You don't see any videos? When Karine Jean-Pierre says it's actually AI, you think that it's actually AI? Is that what you think is going on?
Well, he doesn't meet anybody, so I guess they assumed he had to be. It's like too big to fail. It's like, well, he wouldn't be running if he was really that bad. It's like he wouldn't be that irresponsible.
Yeah, they have no understanding that like Joe Biden can be just as narcissistic and like childlike as Donald Trump. They don't think about that. Like it's like not in their realm of comprehension that like this guy could be holding on for dear life at this thing because out of pure resentment, pure spite.
That would be kind of cool if it wasn't for like how consequential it is.
I don't know. Do we even talk about the policy, the substance? Like it was.
He said he was the most pro-Israel president in his one moment of lucidity.
Yeah. I'm glad that he woke up for that one where he was like, they gyrated on that. They were like, I knew it was going to be a slop job. Like they were going to be panicking on who gets to talk about how much they want to suck Benjamin Netanyahu's dick harder. And they showed up for that.
Yeah, I'm checking my DMs. We are cooked, brother. It's never been more over.
Yeah, no, I've been getting texts just nonstop. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
What am I looking at?
Who won the debate? We asked debate watchers in our instant poll, and the answer was a resounding Donald Trump did. 67% of debate watchers in our poll say Donald Trump won the debate tonight. Joe Biden, 33% say he won the debate tonight. Now, this group of debate watchers, they told us who they thought would win the debate going into it.
Oh no, this is going to be so sad.
How that changed over time. 55% thought before the debate that Donald Trump would win the debate. 45% thought Joe Biden would win the debate.
They're cheering 4 more years. He's speaking. What I'm curious about, okay?
Oh no.
Is does he know how bad this was?
They're talking about him like he's a dog.
Can you hear him a little bit on the mic?
Like he's a dog that pooped on the carpet. Oh, does he know how bad he did?
One of the worst films of 2023 will be Children of the Corn remake, I promise you. It's not going to be fun bad, it's going to be forgettable and awful. That's my prediction. Stinks like poopy. Welcome back to the Papa Me channel. How you doing? How you doing? Come on in and sit on down. Today we are talking about a movie that I watched that may be the worst remake of all time. Children of the Corn 2023. Now this is a remake of, well, it's like a reimagining almost of the original 1984 movie Children of the Corn, which was based off of Stephen King's short story from 1977 called Children of the Corn. So a lot of source material going back and forth, but just know this movie is, I wouldn't say it's extremely different from the original, but it's like, you know, they kind of just took the name, I think, to sell the movie, but it is what it is. But usually when I review movies and stuff like that, I always try to find the merits and the good out of stuff. Not everything's just a huge steaming pilot. But you know how many times people say like, oh, it's the worst movie I ever seen. And it's like, it's just, was it kind of a forgettable movie? This, unironically, might be one of the worst movies I've ever seen. From poor pacing of a movie, terrible acting, bad writing.
Amazing.
Party hard. Bite me.
The lighting was just really off the whole time, and then it builds up to absolutely nothing. But I wanted to talk about it because there are some funny spots, and I think it's funny to put it out there. So even if you don't watch the movie, at least you get a little bit of a digestible version that you can laugh at. Pretty fun. And before we get into any spoilers, in case anybody's like, hey, you ruined the Children of the Corn 2023 movie for me, I give it a 1 out of 10. Maybe, just because they were able to press record on the cameras. I have nothing really good to say about this, so, you know, there it is. You know, you can have your own metric of judgment. I don't want to fuck you. So this is all gonna sound very, very nonsensical. And when I tell you this, and you're like, man, his review is all over the place, because that's how the movie is. All right, I'm gonna give you kind of a stream of thoughts of how this movie folded out, and it's gonna sound bad. It's not gonna sound like it makes a lot of sense. Welcome to my world, dude. Watching this movie last night. Me and my buddy Nick, who's the editor of this channel. I'll put a nice picture of yourself here. And we're watching this movie, and it's a kind of movie where you get to yell at the screen. It's a fun movie to watch with people. Don't watch it by yourself. Watch it with people to where you guys can like openly yell at the screen, Mystery Science Theater style, and just have a good time with it. It's one of those kind of movies. But before we get into this absolute corn maze of a movie, today's video is sponsored by Gamer Subs. Now, when I'm in the need for a little gaming boost, I grab a nice little packet of titty milk here, and I begin to shake. The bottle, not the other. But if titty milk's not your style, I like the Blue Raz or the Mango Meta. But that's not all Gamer Subs has to offer. They just introduced new nutrition bars in case you need to have a little snack while you're gaming. In case you're like, I'm hungry, maybe I'll DoorDash.
No! Nutritional bar good. DoorDash bad.
But there's something even better. The new waifu cups are available to purchase at 2 p.m. Central starting right now. Or download the app and buy it at 1:40 p.m. Central if you're a tryhard. Last time one of these waifu cups released, they all sold out in about 5 hours. So if I were you, I'd get there before the hair. And also, you'll get a free waifu cup with a purchase of any one of these little tubs filled with delicious little powders. And use promo code PAPAMEAT at checkout to get yourself 10% off your order. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you for Gamer Subs for sponsoring the video, and back to the video. We should probably talk about what the original 1984 movie is, because there's been numerous sequels. There's been a lot. So it was weird when I was like, wow, 2023 remake of Children of the Corn, that's kind of odd. So the original film is, I would say, very reminiscent of the original Wicker Man, where it's like, it's more spiritual in nature. It's kind of like children in Nebraska have killed all of the adults in their town. And we're kind of following two characters that are driving across country, and they kind of just stumble across this little town in Nebraska. And they find that, oh, wow, all the kids are in this weird religious cult, and they're going to kill these two new adults to ensure a bountiful harvest of corn. And they all worship a person called
He Who Walks Behind the Rose.
That's kind of cool. But whenever these people come across country and they start to experience all the crazy things, it's already established. Like, they come here and the town is already taken over by these kids. It's really creepy just seeing a bunch of like inbred fucking mutants from Nebraska. Kids, you can overpower them, but they have like sickles. They kind of just all look really like Deliverance country, you know, like that weird inbred kind of country. They all have that vibe. And they're all ruled by this like little religious figure named Isaac. And Isaac is like, I think he's an older dude. I think he was like 20 something when they filmed this, but he's just like, he looks like a child, like a Hasbula kind of thing. I don't fucking know. But the whole movie accumulates to like a lot of like weird religious aspects to the movie, and how all the kids are like under this like weird mind control. And they're all like sunk into this perception of religious chaos and having to do right by the man who walks behind the rose and stuff. Elements of sacrifice, just a lot of like religious best elements. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's fine. It's cohesive, you know, it makes sense. So to transition that little conversation into the Children of the Corn 2023 movie, it's a bit daunting, I think. It's so polar opposite. The only thing that they kept in the new 2023 Children of the Corn is that some kids kill people. Other than that, I mean, even the monster, the He Who Walks on the Roads, they just call him He Who Walks. Is it just a man out in the corn then? And also you get like a corn monster really early reveal in the movie, which is weird. Now, I'm gonna try to remember this movie from memory. This is gonna be hard. The movie basically starts off with our 12-year-old antagonist. She's kind of the co-lead in the movie. She's the new Isaac, and her name is Eden. Ooh, big change up. A little girl as the lead now instead of a little boy. I mean, that's gonna flip people on their head thinking about that. It's gonna flip people on their head. And it starts off with her rebellious, supposed to be 17, but played by like a 28-year-old actor who is like killing people at a daycare or something. They don't really allude to it. He's just like, he kind of just walks up to her and he's covered in blood and he's just like, by the way, nothing really dies in the corn. Which, what does that even mean? That's like one of the first lines in the movie. Nothing ever dies in the corn. So we're left with that cryptic message, and then we get a nice montage of him stabbing people, and then it cuts to some townsfolk with a hose leading to a window, and then there's just a bunch of dead kids. And you're kind of like, why did they gas those children? It's never really said why. I think it's like an orphanage maybe or something. And then the pastor of the town, which you don't find out he's a pastor till 25 minutes into the movie. He's just kind of a random man, comes in, and he's like, I'm gonna be your new dad, Eden. You're gonna come stay with me. And then you're like, wow, I wonder if he's a pedophile. So she's sitting there talking to this guy in this room, and she's like messing with a puzzle, and she can't get the piece in. She's like, God dang, she's like messing out, you know, and this is where the director's like, oh, we're showing her that she's erratic. But then the pastor just turns the puzzle upside down, and she's like, oh, I get it. And she puts the piece in, but it's like, can you just flip the puzzle piece upside down? And then that's when we first also introduced this Alice in Wonderland meme, where she's just like, oh, I'm the Red Queen. And it's so on the nose of like, oh, I'm gonna be tyrannical like the Red Queen. Yeah, I like the Red Queen.
Red Queen.
She says Red Queen so much, and then after a while, the next time we see her, she's wearing a red wig. But then she also literally says, oh, I'm the Red Queen. So it's like the director's just like, God, I hope they understand what we're trying to go for here. Then cut to our new protagonist, Bo, and her brother. Bo's our new protagonist. She is a girl with a tiny head and a big bushy hair. And the only range of acting she has this entire film is to look flabbergasted and like she's about to cry the entire time. Even in these scenes, she looks like she's on the verge of tears. She's kind of given this arc of like, she's very mad about the corn. All this stuff is synthetic. It's put over the corn. Don't even touch it. It's bad for you.
Cut it out. Stop playing with that stuff, okay?
All this stuff is pesticides and it's gross and it'll kill you. And then the brother has this like weird fascination with this small ass Nebraska town. He's like, you hate this town. You hate it here. You know what? Whatever. And they pretty much end up in an area where all these kids are playing, and they're sitting there and they're busting out all these windows to this car. I mean, like just shattering them. That's in the middle of a cornfield also. Why is that parked there? Then there's a corn silo, and then at the top of it is a plank, and there's a little kid who's like, come on, let me down, guys. And the Red Queen, remember her? She's like, oh, you made your dog sick, so we're punished to death. And it's supposed to be like a cute game, but it feels very real because a child comes up behind him with a giant drill bit, and he's stabbing him. It's supposed to be like, haha, yeah, like poking him, but the sound effect they use is like, it sounds like he's puncturing his skin. It's like, and he's like, ow, and everybody's laughing. Bo sitting there, she still looks like she's about to cry, so you don't know if what kind of emotion she's feeling here because she's looked this way the entire film. And then an older guy comes out wearing a hood. He has like a fuck face or something, even though it just looks like a patchy beard. And he's like, what's going on here? What the hell's happening?
What in friction are you doing on my grandma's car?
What did you guys do to my grandma's car? The car that they busted out, and it's just like, why is your grandma's car parked out here? Anyways, he ends up being like, what's happening? What's going on here? And they're like, oh, we're playing a game. We're gonna push this kid off this fucking silo that's like 100 feet up in the air into a stack of corn stalks, which if you're listening to anybody who didn't grow up around a farm or something, right? Corn stalks are hard. They're very thick. You could beat the shit out of somebody with a corn stalk. So for him to jump into that, I mean, I feel like he would just break every fucking bone in his body. It's not gonna be like a cushioned landing. It's gonna be like he's falling into a goddamn stack of steel bars, as it were. But before the little boy is able to be stabbed in the gut and pushed off this plank. Eden's like, light the corn stalks on fire and let them fall and burn in the fire. Which you're like, God damn, dude, Jesus Christ. Luckily, Bo's there to be like, hey, there's all these chemicals in the air. If you light that thing, this whole cornfield's gonna burn. That's how it felt when I was watching it. It's like, I wonder how this movie's gonna end. I wonder if a fire's gonna happen in the cornfield. Probably not. That'd be a bit odd. So Eden's sitting there. She kind of looks like a small Jay Leno. That's what I was thinking the whole time. Kind of looks like a tiny little Jay Leno. She's sitting there and she just gives like a meh. And then it just cuts. The scene just cuts and now the fuckface kid and Bo are walking down the road and they're just talking about memories. And it's like, okay, well, what happened with the kid who's getting stabbed in the spleen? But as Bo and her fuckface friend are walking down the road, they find like a rusty sword, and then the fuckface kid just says, oh, it's been a while since we've played pirates. And you're like, what? You just found a sword and that's just supposed to, remember when we used to play with this? Really? And then he just takes it and throws it in the cornfield. And once again, he's like, oh, well, I mean, times sure have changed with this sword. You know this. Anyways, I'm just gonna toss it in the cornfield. I know this movie's called Children of the Corn. I'm sure that sword will never come up again. So like back to back, it's just two giant like, hey, we're foreshadowing. This is what foreshadowing is. And as the sword lands into the cornfield, we get our first reveal of the corn monster, like the supernatural thing, which is fine, I guess. But it's like, wouldn't you want it to be a little bit more ambiguous of like, oh, are these children going insane? But no, it's just like, oh, no, yep, there's a corn monster. It wraps around the sword, which you're like, if that was the only visual of the sword and it would just serve that purpose of revealing the monster, that's fine. But she uses it to stab the corn monster in the head later. So we'll get to that soon. Then as Bo's walking away, she's by herself. There's like a fake out jump scare where the music goes completely silent and she's like looking into the corn. You can kind of see the corn monster in there, but it's blending in a bit. It was just one of those things like, why isn't the corn monster just attacking her? Why wouldn't that be? Is it because she's a kid? I don't know, but she looks like she's 37, but she's supposed to be 17 here. But we cut back into town and Bo is walking and we get the most obnoxious fucking jump scare of all time. What? I couldn't even hear what the brother said. He was just like, bah, 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 to the sister. He says something, but it's mixed so loud that it's the most obnoxious jump scare. Were you just tracking your sister from the cornfield all the way back here without saying anything to her just to do this jump scare in the neighborhood? Okay. But this is where we get a lot of exposition. We get a lot of really boring backstory. This brother once again is like, this town, no one even cares about this town. It shows all these like businesses that are closed down and stuff. He's like, no one cares. Dude, who gives a fuck? No one's gonna open up the feed shop again. How are we gonna feed our ducks? And then you see a shot of them. I think it's their mom. You see some people in a truck and it's like, is that their mom and their dad? I don't know. Anyways, you see Bo and her angry brother's dad walking into the town meeting and Bo's like, well, let's go in there and see what's going on. And basically the town meeting is the dad says that they're gonna subsidize all the corn and that they will be planting corn no longer because the corn is dead, it's dying. So the whole subsidization, which subsidization is the government pays you, is basically the whole thing. But the government would be paying them to not grow corn. They don't really say what's gonna happen with all the fields. They're just like, the government will pay us to not grow corn, which I'm not a farmer, so maybe this is some real shit that I don't know, but it just sounds odd. They don't say like, yeah, they're gonna be putting in malls or like new stores, and that would be a disruption to the rural nature of their town. No, he's just like, yeah, the corn's dying, so they're gonna subsidize us not to grow corn. No more corn, we get paid for it. And everyone in town is just like, I would love to not